We are very proud to announce UMP Trading is an official partner with a proven profit track record.
Yeah, if you want great returns on your investments, be sure to check out UMP Trading.
Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are today to bring to you guys another edition of the Stock Watch. I have Braden here, and we're joined by Jeff making his debut in this segment. It was a fan favorite last time out, so here we are to bring our opinions about the players whose stocks went up or down based on this week and weekend of soccer. Braden, your first pick for a player that got the stock moving up.
Okay, so for my first player whose stock went up this weekend, it's a bit of a shocking one. I don't think anyone would have seen this coming, but Diego Kochen was named to the bench for Barcelona as a 17-year-old goalkeeper playing for one of the best teams in the world. I think that's really impressive. Obviously, he didn't play because backup goalkeepers never get in unless there's an injury or a red card, which obviously didn't happen to Ter Stegen, thankfully. But yeah, being named to the bench as a 17-year-old goalkeeper, that's uncharacteristic to be that young and already in the team for one of the best teams in the world, especially as an American playing abroad. I think it's really cool. He's now the youngest American goalkeeper to make a matchday squad in a top 5 league ever. And I mean, not only top 5 league, like I said, Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in La Liga, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And it just shows that our future is extremely bright. The battle between him and Slonina in the future for the next 10, 15 years is going to be absolutely phenomenal to watch. And I can't wait, honestly.
All right, that's a really good pick. Jeff, what about you? What player caught your eye this weekend?
Well, definitely Josh Sargent. I'm just starting off with an A-teamer. He's currently in 3 games. He has 2 goals, 1 assist. He just scored today against Millwall, if I'm not mistaken. They played Millwall, yeah. And last weekend in a dramatic 4-4 draw against Southampton, he scored and assisted. And this guy's really making a case for himself to, get called back into the national team after a fairly disastrous performance at the World Cup. He did have that key pass for the Wales goal, but overall, he was disappointing. With the strikers that we called up, I really thought that he was going to be a locked-in starter. That didn't end up being the case, and as you know, he's a championship-level player. He's really established himself as one of, this may be one that's controversial, but he may be one of the best strikers in the championship. I don't know, that might be a far stretch, but if he keeps this up, I could definitely see him getting called back up to the September camp. And good for Josh.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a good look for Shrey, who said, you heard it here first, 20 goals for Josh Sargent this season. I mean, we all hope that happens. I'm just going to say my player, that I'm going to have to pick him first. Tanner the Tank Tessmann. What a player. A great performance in the beginning of the week against La Spezia. Unfortunately, Venezia couldn't win on pens, but he was phenomenal. You go to Venezia Instagram and fans are comparing him to Pirlo and to Zidane. Obviously, it's a bit of banter there, but, he really is coming into himself as a great player, looking even better than last season. And today, what a performance. I mean, you look at this guy, 9 progressive passes that led up to shots. That's really impressive. And the ball recovery is 12 during a match. That's really, really good. And Venezia is looking really strong. I know there are still rumors that he might leave. Really strong rumors that he will leave, in fact. But if he stays, honestly, I don't really mind, because I feel like we do have the capability of going up, and he'll be playing next year. I mean, maybe it's a great opportunity. He's only so young, just turned 21. But yeah, I'll pick him. Now, my pick for a player whose stock went down, I have to choose Taylor Booth. I really like Booth, but coming off last week where he had the injury, and during this week we had the confirmation of the severity of the injury, and he will be sidelined for a few months, possibly 2 months for sure. I mean, stock goes down. That puts him out of contention for the next call-up, so I have to pick him. Braden, who are you choosing?
Yeah, it's so unfortunate for Taylor Booth picking up that injury on the first game of the season, similarly to what we saw with Rokas Pukstas a week or 2 ago. Just so unfortunate for such a young player who obviously was poised to have a breakout season. So hopefully he'll recover as quickly as he can, and get back out there and maybe have a good second half of the season. But for my first player whose stock went down this week, I'm going to have to go for another bit of a fringe one. I mean, Caution is just kind of a youngster, not really a fringe player, but I'm going to go for Eric Palmer-Brown, the center back who signed for Panathinaikos in Greece this summer. And they did actually upset Marseille in the Champions League qualifying, which was really impressive. So props to them for that. But he still hasn't played a single minute for them in official competition. And it just kind of was the question, why did he go there? And we've seen this situation with Conrad last season. He went to another Greek team, Olympiacos, and the same thing happened. He didn't play at all. And I'm worrying that maybe the same thing's going to happen here to Eric Palmer-Brown. He hasn't, like I said, he hasn't played yet. Obviously, the season just started, but it's not a good look, especially for a player who was relegated last season in Ligue 1. His career is kind of on a downward spiral right now, and we saw maybe a year or two ago he was in consideration for the first team for the US, and now there's several other options who have overtaken him. So yeah, he's going to be my first player whose stock went down.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that one. What about you, Jeff? Which player didn't impress you this week?
Well, I can't really say that he didn't impress because this player that I'm naming, he's another striker, and his fall, arriving to the Bundesliga, it's Jordan Piepak. Really, I remember last season when he got that move to Union Berlin, there was high hopes for him, maybe coming back into the national team. He's been scoring left and right for them, becoming one of their most trusted strikers alongside Becker. Fast forward, he didn't even get a single minute today. It's disappointing because we really thought that leaving the Swiss league with young boys and going to the Bundesliga, he was gonna maybe be in consideration for the roster. But now I don't even think he's even fifth in the pecking order, or fourth. It's really disappointing.
Now, looking on to a player that impressed us for this week, our second pick for whose player's stock went up, I'm going for Slonina. I feel like after a really shocking debut, not only by him but his entire team, it was nice to see that it's normal, but they're going to weather the storm, and not going up against one of the strongest clubs in the league. Club Brugge are established giant in Belgium. It was nice to see them get their win. He played the full 90 minutes, so that shows that they're still behind him, even though they have three other young prospects as an option to start. So I'll put Slonina there. Definitely had some good moments, distribution-wise specifically, because the saves were quite easy. Braden, who are you picking?
Yeah, so my second player that I'm picking is another youngster, another one who definitely won't be on a lot of people's radars, but definitely should be after his start of the season. And he came out of nowhere. It's Tyler Binden, the 18-year-old center back, former LAFC prospect, as much as I wish he didn't come from there. He's been absolutely incredible. He was a trialist with Reading and very quickly was snapped up by them, signed to a contract, and just kind of was thrust into the starting lineup. I think it was a week or two ago in the EFL Cup against Millwall, and he impressed then. It was basically Reading's youngsters versus Millwall's full-strength team, and they absolutely smashed them 1-4-0. And since then, he's made starts midweek against Cheltenham and yesterday against Stevenage, keeping clean sheets in both games. So his second and third clean sheets in his second and third games for the club in League One of England. And yeah, he even had a really good ball over the top in the Stevenage game that eventually led to one of their 2 goals, which I thought was pretty impressive. It's nice to see with him, Brandon Craig, Jalen Neal, some upcoming center backs that we have that can distribute the ball a little bit too, because I think that's where the game is heading as a whole. But yeah, I think it's definitely important to note that Reading haven't won this season without him in the lineup, and with him in the lineup, they haven't lost or even conceded a goal. Obviously, the season's still young, but for an 18-year-old center back who definitely kind of came out of nowhere, I think it's really impressive, and he's definitely on my radars for the next U20 cycle and our senior team for the future.
All right, that's great. It is nice to see these players that come out of nowhere to be, really impressive, if not more impressive than the ones that we're a little bit more used to. Jeff, now your next pick for whose player stock went up?
I might as well also say Gabriel Solina. one of my favorite youngsters. Quite possibly also one of my favorite keepers in general. Like you said, Yuri, earlier with Ugin. I definitely butchered the name, but I'm just gonna call it Ugin. He redeemed himself after that, humiliating loss against Club Brugge. He made a lot of good saves. He's really showing that he has a bright future, no doubt, and that he's really comfortable on the ball. He's good on distribution. Really tall. Very agile for a keeper as well. And if he keeps this up, I really think that we might, have to start calling him up with the senior team. That might be a bit of a stretch, but if he keeps these performances up week in, week out, I mean, why not?
All right, now moving on to our player that unfortunately didn't really impress. I'm going to say Weston McKennie. I'll be quick about it. Not much to say. He came on. Passing accuracy was shocking. He covered space remotely well, but don't let the apps fool you. His ball recoveries were just balls that spilled out into him. So, he had to recover them. And just looking really slow, not really active. And just the passing, I think, was something that always carries West is his technical capacity, technical ability, but it's looking a little bit off now. So it's sad to see that he's been given a chance again at a giant of a club and looking a little bit like he doesn't really care. I might be wrong about that, but his performances kind of translate that. What about you, Brayden? Who are you going for?
Yeah, so for my second player whose stock went down this weekend, this pains me to say it because it's a Union product. I'm going to go for Mark McKenzie. Just honestly, Genk have just kind of been in shambles recently. They were in Champions League qualifying 3 weeks ago, got knocked out to Servette from Switzerland. Their very first Europa League qualifying rounds, because obviously they got dumped down, they played against Olympiacos and they lost that too. So they've now dropped out of 2 European competitions at the first time of asking. So it's just really disappointing for the team and McKenzie as a whole, who has specifically been getting benched in the league lately, the last 2 games, to focus on Europe, and they're still not winning those games. So it's just a sad thing to see, especially after last season. He was probably one of the best center backs in Belgium, and I don't know why he hasn't started the season well, or Genk haven't. Hopefully it's just a little bit of rust and they can get back on form and hopefully qualify for the Conference League, because I think going from, they should have won the league last year. I think it's fair to say they kind of got scammed due to the format. But going from that to not even playing Europe potentially is just catastrophic, and it can't happen. So hopefully they can get into Conference League and he can redeem himself along with the rest of the team. But for now, for this week, he has to be on my stock down list.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, it's never nice to pick players that we really cheer on. But moving on to you, Jeff, who didn't impress you?
I'm gonna go with another player, like you said, Yuri, Weston. My BFF. The guy that I seem to, that love to pick on, but still love him as a person. But as a player, really, he's lost it. At this point, in my opinion, he's close to rock bottom, because I don't even think Juve are even gonna want him anymore. With that horrendous substitution performances, the guy is not in shape. We said this ever since he arrived at Juve. He doesn't seem motivated, to even, try to help Juve, because in my opinion, he just adds gas. He just adds gas to the fire. Just not looking the same. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. He hasn't been the same since that rupture, ACL that he experienced with Villarreal and round of 16 Champions League in the 2021-2022 season. And just look at it. Just look after he recovered from that injury. He just been putting in lousy performances. He's lost his touch, his momentum, and I just hope that he can pick it up soon, because or else he's just gonna be known as Fatso McKennie.
All right, well, let's hope that Wes can get a more kind nickname for the future. But for now, I think the criticism is pretty fair. All right, now our last picks for stock up or down. We'll do this quickly for time's sake. I'm picking Josh Sargent for another week where his stock went up, piling on top of that good performance last week. Not just the goal, a really good all-around player. I think that Josh is doing really well, fluctuating between the lines, not only as a fixed 9. And for stock down, I have to pick. It pains me to say Weah. I think that he's a really good player. It's not due to his performance. It's due to the possible injury. It was due to his light knock. And if you're injured, your stock kind of goes down. So not on his performance, I think he was fine. Yeah, he got kind of burned once in the game, but that's all right. That happens every once in a while. And it's solely based on his injury. I'm not picking over his performance. But again, I'm always just concerned whenever I see our players linked to injuries. I'm always like, okay, are we ready for 4 months out on the sideline? So those are my picks. Braden, who are your last picks for stock up and down?
Yeah, so my last player for stock up, and I think he definitely deserves it. It's our fringe goalkeeper that we've seen from Nations League, Drake Callender. Obviously, he hasn't played a game with the U.S. national team yet, but I mean, if he keeps playing the way he has in the Leagues Cup, it's gonna come pretty soon. At the very least, maybe the next Gold Cup, if Matt Turner doesn't decide to just play every game possible. But yeah, I mean, he had the game of his career in the Leagues Cup final, making 6 saves to keep Inter Miami in the game. He scored a beautiful penalty. I mean, I think everyone was shocked. The absolute rocket into the top of the net, which was very, very impressive. And then, obviously, the next penalty, making the game-winning save on Nashville's keeper, Elliot Panico. He won goalkeeper of the tournament for his efforts, and we saw as soon as the first game started in Leagues Cup, he was the one who was keeping Cruz Azul at bay until Messi came on in their first game, keeping them in the game. And yeah, just for the entire tournament, not just those 2 games, he was absolute class, and he's definitely fighting for a spot on the US M&T roster, especially in a time where some of our other fringe goalkeepers aren't exactly performing well. I mean, Sean Johnson's fallen off completely, and then Ethan Horvath and Zach Steffen don't even really have clubs right now. So yeah, Drake Callender stock went up, and for stock went down, I'm gonna go for Tim Ream. I mean, he had a great performance last week, kept a clean sheet. It was all looking great, but just maybe his worst Premier League game ever this weekend, getting sent off for a second yellow card when he brought down Johan Witha in the box, which the penalty was converted by Mbuemo, which gave Brentford the 2-0 lead and an extra man, because obviously Ream's second yellow card got him sent off, and it just killed all the momentum that Fulham had to potentially try to get back into that game. So I don't think it's unfair to say that he was the reason they ended up losing the game as badly as they did. So he has to be my last stock down player.
Yeah, it's sad, but that's true. It was probably his worst match that I've ever seen personally. Jeff, who are your picks? Last ones to impress or not?
All right. So a player that in my opinion, his stock went up. He's a dual national. And the only dual national that I'm mentioning in this video, and he is a certain player that played in a certain final yesterday with Drake Callender, which in my opinion he put in a solid performance. Props to Drake Callender, but enough of that. The player that I'm naming is you guys probably already know, Benjamin Kadamashki. He's a very, very talented young player, a dual national we have to look out for, especially rivaling and challenging Argentina. There's many players that we might have to battle with Argentina to acquire the players that we could potentially have in the national team. Yeah, he played really incredibly well last night. He shows that he has a high work rate. He's tall, very technical, and he's been an in and out starter for Inter Miami. Getting able to play alongside players like obviously the GOAT Messi, Busquets, and Jordi Alba. He's really established himself as a starter at only 18 years old. And to be honest, what I've heard is that he's possibly in contention to get a senior team call up with Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. And this could be really critical for us, because if he does get that call up, then we've lost him, because he even seems to be leading to playing with Argentina. which isn't a good look on us, to be honest, because this kid is really, really special, and he definitely has a future and can look to get us moved to Europe in the nearby future in about a year or two. And yeah, Benjamin Karamowski, he really put in a solid performance yesterday. And a player that my last player that his stock went down is unfortunately Malik Tillman. He was bought in on loan to be a replacement of Travis Simmons, and last week and even this week he didn't even get any minutes. He wasn't even subbed on. Didn't start obviously, and this is really concerning because after his good loan move to Rangers and finding a new team with PSV in terms of an upgrade, I really thought that he can at least seek a bit minutes. It's only the second game of the season, but it's kind of concerning since he is a player that obviously has a spot on the national team. But if this keeps up, then he might not even get called back up into the national team for the September camp, which is really concerning because I actually like how he is as a player. And yeah, I'm just really worried. And that wraps it up for my players that are stock up and stock down.
All right, so giving yours to our community, we are doing our predictions for players to watch for next week. We're going to pick one established player, a star to watch, and one fringe player that's going to be our sleeper pick. I'm just going to get with mine. I think Pulisic's going to have a good week. He's going to start against Bologna tomorrow. I think, he's not the fringe player. He's my star to watch. And going up against Liko and Lukumi, who I don't really think are good players for Bologna. They're all right, but that left-hand side is a weakness of theirs. They still don't have a central defensive midfielder to sort out their formation. They're going to miss Medel. I think Puli's going to have a good time cutting in inside and opening up space, even if he wants to go wide as well. And for his sleeper pick, I was really, really curious. I couldn't really decide on who, so I'm going for Buzio. I think he had an okay game, and confidence is going to go up. And this is the first time I'm picking Buzio for anything praise related on this video. I'm a Venezia fan. I'm deluded. We won 3-0, so cut me some slack. But over to you, Braden. Who are you picking?
Yeah, so for my star player to watch, I'm going to go for Brendan Aronson. I think he showed a lot of positive signs in his Bundesliga debut this weekend. Obviously, having a beautiful backheel to Roussillon, who ended up crossing it into Behrens for the first goal less than a minute into the game. And just all around, he showed his work rate as always, and even got a standing ovation as coming off. And I think next week, going against Darmstadt, a newly promoted team, I think it's fair to say probably, in my opinion, the weakest team in the league. I think he can have an absolute field day, just building off of his debut this weekend. So he's my star player to watch. And then for my sleeper pick, it's kind of same lines, honestly. I'm going to go for Paxton Aronson. I think with Frankfurt playing their first European game against Levski in the Conference League qualifying, I think it's the perfect opponent for him to hopefully come into the lineup. I think it'd be a disappointment if he didn't start against a team of that quality. And yeah, I can just come into the lineup and show his worth and potentially springboard himself into a more key role with Frankfurt this season than we saw last season. He's still yet to start an official game for them outside of friendlies, so hopefully that comes soon. And yeah, so those are my two picks.
All right, awesome. I do hope that Paxton shows up. He's a great player. Jeff, over to you.
All right, my star player to watch is obviously our boy, star player Christian Pulisic. He's 100% going to make his Serie A debut tomorrow against Bologna, and and the fresh start. Finally leaving Chelsea. As a Chelsea fan, it hurts, but it's really happy to see that he got a big move to Milan. He looked really impressive in the preseason. I can't wait to see him tear it up. In my opinion, he's gonna have quite possibly the best season of his career. Even hearing that he could potentially be a locked-in starter, regardless if he's playing at Cam, he can still play there. And I'm expecting big things for him tomorrow. Take the Serie A by storm and have a good start to the new season. My sleeper pick is Chris Richards. Tomorrow he faces off against Arsenal. And the reason why I have him as a sleeper pick because he's most likely not going to start. I kind of doubted that he might get minutes as a substitute, but who knows? Even after his very impressive performances in the Nations League against Mexico and Canada, I really hope this might convince Patrice Vieira to maybe give him some more minutes this season, as we all know he's a very quality defender. And yeah, just hope that he might prove me wrong and have a very good start to the season with Crystal Palace. Maybe be a locked-in starter. Maybe.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Braden. Thank you so much, Jeff. It was fun to record this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys enjoyed it last week. So leave a comment below with your picks for the week. What did you think about our analysis of the players that played throughout last week and this weekend? If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends. We'll see you next time. And leave suggestions for the video ideas for the future. We always appreciate your guys' comments. We'll see you next time.